In Louisiana, we screen over 98% of the babies born. Approximately 38% of the babies who do not pass the initial hearing screening at the hospital are lost to follow-up. After coming to the NICHQ collaborative, the first collaborative, we found a way to address those babies who were lost to documentation by looking at small tests of change. Previously, when we looked at addressing that population, it just seemed overwhelming.
This isn't another project. This is a way. This is a method. This is our vehicle to help us go back home, address what our concerns are. In this particular case, why don't we have documentation? Why don't we know what has happened to these babies? What we found overall, both between the parent letters and the fax back form to the medical home, that a lot of babies were having follow-up that was just not being reported by audiology providers in our state. We can't assume that those babies had passed unless we have documentation. The last cycle that we did find a baby who was, in this case, lost to follow-up, who will probably have a hearing loss because it was family history. So we found one baby.
When I make phone calls to parents, I always surprised that they never understood, that they didn't understand anything at the hospital. They left the hospital with a whole bunch of paper that they sign and a whole bunch of discharge paper, and they don't even know what it is. And when I asked them, do you know that your child had a hearing screening test? And most of the time, they don't really know that they did. They don't really know that they agree to have that screening for the baby when the baby was at the hospital. So we are trying to encourage, and we are working on that so that the hospitals can use the bilingual forms. We have them, and we're still developing more, and we are working toward have everything English and Spanish. My son was diagnosed when he was 14 months. And I kept asking. I knew that something was kind of weird with him, that it wasn't right, that mother feeling. I always tell them, you need to do it as soon as possible, not because I want to scare them, but you need to do it because of this and that. You need to make sure that he's hearing what he needs to hear right now. Otherwise he's gonna be missing, and you don't want him to miss, or him or her to miss anything.
We have a portion of loss to follow-up between screening and audiology, and we really didn't know at all where we stood between audiology and intervention because we weren't receiving data from intervention.
Quite a few individuals in the audiology community didn't understand the referral process for early intervention. They thought that they were succeeding at getting that referral, but in fact, that baby was not getting into the system. And so I think that we've really corrected that issue. I really think that without NICHQ and this project, that we would have never collectively sat down and really examined how we can make the changes that we all knew needed to happen. And it gave us the tools to just cut it down into small steps of change that were possible to work through and then to spread to our colleagues.
You think about all the barriers parents have, whether it's economical, they don't have a car, access to a clinic, whatever it may be, rural considerations. There's a large loss of kids who don't go to follow-up. So I've been calling those kids pre-appointment, those who are scheduled, and those who miss their appointment or who don't have one, and getting them, talking to them, hearing their personal stories, why they didn't go in. And they're always very unique, just like people, and helping them kind of navigate that so they know what to do next. They know what the test entails. There was about a 25% no-show rate for when babies refer to this particular clinic. So we started doing where I was calling them beforehand, telling them when their test appointment was, how to bring the baby in a little tired and hungry, what to expect, explaining the test to them, seeing if they had any financial concerns, transportation concerns, anything I could answer for them. And thus far it's small, we're starting small and working out bigger, but we've had, of those kids I've called, 100% of them have gone in. My experience was very wonderful. I had a great screen at the hospital, great discharge nurse, got into the system very early, so I'd love for parents to have that sort of experience without all the cumbersome things that can happen along the way.